Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and I'm the owner of DAM Fancy Creations and the Drunk Flamingo. In today's tutorial, we're going to be making a snow globe tumbler and we're going to be using the glass 20-ounce skinny snow globes for this project. I purchased a lot of these snow globes a while ago and just could never decide what I wanted to create with them until now. And I love how this tumbler turned out, and I'm probably going to end up keeping this tumbler for myself and using it for my iced coffee. Everything you see listed here will be covered in today's tutorial, and I'm definitely going to share with you guys what liquid I like for my snow globes. I tend to like my liquid thicker than other snow globe mixtures just because I like my glitter to stay suspended for the entire time so it does not sink to the bottom when you're using the tumbler and you're left with blank space in the tumbler or just a mound of glitter at the bottom of the tumbler. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe so you are the first to know about new tutorials that drop, and check the description if you want a full supply list so you can recreate this tumbler for yourself, as well as discount codes from my favorite suppliers. All right, y'all, let's get started. Alright y'all, so here's the vinyl that I'm going to be using. I already cut some strips out, and this is the tumbler. This is just a glass snow globe tumbler with a cork top, and I cut 4 strips about 1.5 inches each, and we're going to start by just applying these to our tumbler. And as always, I do not measure anything, I just eyeball it. So it's like a form of measuring, but not professional measuring. So I'm just taking these strips and I'm cutting about an inch of the backing off. And I'm applying this to the top of the tumbler. And the strips are long enough so that they wrap around the bottom. So I'm kind of using that as my guide of where I'm going to place the vinyl strip that's going to be on the opposite side of the tumbler. And then I'm going to place my other 2 strips in between these 2. And if you guys have these tumblers, you will know that the very top has like a small little lip, and that's where I placed my vinyl strips so that they weren't at the very tippy top of the tumbler. They were just about 3 millimeters below the top. So now that I have all of my strips on there, I am just going to make sure that they're spaced evenly, or as evenly as I can tell. And then I'm just going to remove the backing and smooth them down. And I'm not worried about getting the bottom even right now. I will even all of that out in just a second. So now we have all of our vinyl strips on there. And I'm going to grab my edging tool from Cami Page Boutique. If you guys do not have the edging tool, I highly suggest getting them. I have 2 of them. I have one on the spacing for the bottom of the tumbler and one for the spacing for the top of the tumbler. That way I don't have to switch out the blades. So before I edge my tumblers, I like to use my heat gun just to smooth down that vinyl, just so there's no wrinkles or creases, so that when I edge the tumbler, it's going to be like a little smooth process and it's not going to get hung up on any of that vinyl. So we're just edging around the cup. And then I just used my blade to help lift that vinyl up because it was really stuck to that glass. So now we have our top rims are already even because we measured with the lip of the tumbler, and now the bottom rim is also even because we used the edging tool. So now we're going to mix up our little mixture. Sometimes I mix up a lot of the liquid, but I have not made a snow globe tumbler in forever, and I didn't know where any of my liquid mixtures were, so I'm just going to make some new ones so you guys can kind of see how I do it. So we're just going to clear out some space because we don't want to accidentally knock something over and get this everywhere. So this is the magical liquid, and I'm also going to use some bottled water, not tap water, just in case mold wants to try to grow. We're just going to use purified or distilled water. So this is the magical liquid. You guys can see as I'm pouring it in there, it's kind of like hair gel is what I compare it to. It's not like a watery substance. So if you get a magical liquid container and it's very liquidy, I would take it back because it's not going to work how you need it. In the past, I've had people say that their magical liquid was super liquidy, and y'all can kind of see it's like globby. So this is what it should look like a hair gel consistency. And we're going to mix a little bit of water in there. I don't really have exact measurements. I usually like to start with a 50-50 mixture and then adjust it from there. And I just shake it up. We want to make sure that that magical liquid and water is combined well. And then you're going to want to pick your glitter colors. So I chose a couple different glitter mixtures. I will link them all in the comments. These are all my previous colors that can now be found on Cami Page Boutique. So I will link them in the comments for you. And I like to start by filling up my snow globe a little bit with the liquid. That way, when you pour your glitter in, it's not going to get stuck at the top of the snow globe. So we have some liquid in there that's going to help that glitter move around. If you put the glitter in first and then pour the liquid in, that glitter can get stuck at the top and kind of caked up there. So I just put a little bit of the liquid in there, and I had a little bubble, so I was trying to pop it with some alcohol. And yes, you can use a funnel, but I don't know where my funnels are. I'm pretty sure they're in my closet, but I just didn't really feel like looking for them. So I just started pouring the glitter in there, and I mean, it worked fairly well. After I cleaned out the snow globe hole, I mean, it was kind of just pouring in there. I just creased my bag so that it formed like a little spout. So I just cleaned out the hole so that there was no magical liquid around that hole. And then I just poured in the other colors. So I just angled my bag. I just creased it so it was like a little spout and just poured it in there. It worked fine for me. I usually use a small funnel. And I would say that I'm pretty heavy-handed with my glitter. I like thick glitter in my snow globes. I don't like liquid showing or like random spots, like blank spots. So I do put a lot of glitter in here. And I did 3 colors because I felt like all of these colors kind of accented the vinyl. We have the slate blue, the gold, and then kind of a orange and black fall mix, which is one of my favorite colors. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, but I will link it. So now that I have a decent amount of glitter in there, I'm just kind of rolling it around just to see what it looks like. And then we're pouring some more glitter in because why not? So now I'm just holding the hole with my finger and I'm just shaking this up just so I can get that glitter combine. I'm just kind of rolling it back and forth in my hands as well, and there's no liquid towards the top of that tumbler, so I'm not worried about it splashing out. It's all glitter. So now I'm just kind of checking it out, seeing if I need to add some more glitter, what it's going to look like. So I was pretty happy with how it was turning out. So now I am just going to fill the rest of the tumbler up with that liquid. And I'm just kind of shaking it and rolling it a little bit just to help that glitter get mixed in with the liquid so that I know there are no air bubbles in there. And I just put a piece of tape over the bottom and can really just shake it up. Get all that glitter mixed in and release any trapped air that may be stuck in there. And now we're just going to continue to fill the snow globe up with our mixture. And I'm just kind of moving it around. You can see that I'm kind of adjusting the tumbler to where all the air is coming towards that snow globe hole so that I can fill up as much of that empty space as I can with the liquid. And I do leave just a small air bubble just so that air bubble can kind of move around the glitter if I need it to. And yes, I think that I poured some more glitter in there. Like I said, I like a lot of glitter. So now that our airspace is getting lower and lower, it may be a little hard to fill the remaining space with the squeeze bottle. So I am just taking a little pipette. I've also used a syringe before, and we're just taking a little bit and putting it into the tumbler and then squeezing that liquid out. This just really helps get the snow globe as full of that liquid as we can without making a huge mess. So now the snow globe is as full as it's going to get, I think. So now what we're going to do is clean the bottom really well with alcohol and get any of that snow globe mixture off of our tumbler as we can so that we can seal it. You want to make sure you clean it, because once we put that UV resin on, if there's any residue, then that UV resin is not going to stick to our tumbler as well as it should. So for this particular tumbler, I am just going to grab a piece of tape and we're going to cover that hole. And then we are going to cover the bottom with UV resin. And I know some places there are snow globe plugs. I have never used those. I get a little nervous because what if they pop out and then the liquid all comes out of the bottom? I don't know. So I just seal mine with UV resin, and this was all going to be epoxied anyway, so I could not seal it with a silicone plug if I'm going to epoxy the tumbler. So I just put some UV resin on. I'm just dragging this UV resin to the edge of the tumbler, or not even really the edge. There's like a divot, I guess, or a crater, I don't know, on the bottom of the tumbler. So I'm basically just filling that little section with the UV resin. Now, I did decide to add a little logo charm to the bottom of this tumbler. I was planning to use it to cover the hole, but that did not work as well as I wanted it to. The little logo charm was a little bit thicker than I wanted it to be, so it ended up just going on the bottom of the tumbler, which made the bottom a little bit thicker than I would have liked it, but it all worked out in the end. But I got my little logo charms from Mizzy's Doodles. So I'm just peeling off the backing now. All of her little logo tags come with the paper on the front and the back after she cuts them with her laser. So you do have to make sure that you remove both sides. And then I'm just going to place this on the bottom of my cup. But this is when I was realizing that it was not, it was a little bit thicker than I wanted it. So it was going to make the bottom of my tumbler uneven if I left it over the hole. So I just moved it to the center. And since it isn't perfect, this just gives me a reason to keep it, right? So I just pop bubbles with my little torch, and then we're going to cure it with my UV light. So once that is cured, I'm really going to take that tumbler and just shake it up. And see what all that glitter looks like combine. So here is what the glitter mixture looks like. I really liked how it was looking. At this stage, I was like, all right, I'm probably just going to keep this tumbler because I need one for my coffee, right? the other 25 that I have in my cabinet just wouldn't do. So now that I have it filled, I'm going to go ahead and pinstripe the vinyl. And I do have a PinStripe file on thedrunkflamingo.com. It has my most popular sizes I use, which are 0.07, 0.05, and 0.03. And like I say in all of my videos with pinstripes, I like to print out a full sheet of every color that I cut. That way I don't have to worry about cutting a couple pinstripes here or there. And I have 3 different sizes in the colors. So if I want to break up the size variation or if I want to layer them, I have that option. So I'm just placing them on the vinyl and then I'm just trimming them with my bare blade. I like to use just a naked blade without the housing to cut my pinstripes because I can get a really good angle and a flat edge. Sometimes when I try to cut it with my actual blade with the housing part just kind of gets in the way and I can't get a good angle or a clean cut. And with pinstripes, I typically will use my heat gun to heat up the vinyl pinstripes and heat up that adhesive so that I get a really good adhesion to the tumbler. I also will use either clear UV nail gel polish or just regular UV resin and just go over the edges of the pinstripes. That way they're going to be held down by the UV resin and they're not going to lift under epoxy, because I know I've done it a million times where you get a tumbler perfect and then those pinstripes lift under epoxy and it's so frustrating. You have to sand it down, reapply new pinstripes, and it just causes a headache. So applying UV resin or the clear gel polish to the ends can help prevent that. So once we get all of our pinstripes on and sealed with UV resin, I am going to take this downstairs and epoxy 2 times. I will always epoxy over any vinyl or pinstripes at least twice. That way I know that it has a good seal on it and that everything is going to have a decently thick layer of epoxy and minor bumps are not going to crack the epoxy. So here's what it looks like before epoxy. I was already obsessed with it. And here is a finished video. You guys can see that that glitter doesn't really move at all, which is what I aim for in snow globe tumblers. And here are some finished pictures. And if you guys want a little bit more movement in your tumbler, then you can obviously adjust the magical liquid to water ratio and just add more water to your mixture and less magical liquid. So even though this tumbler was pretty simple to make, I love how it turned out. If you guys give this a try or use this vinyl, please post in the Drunk Flamingo. I love to see what you guys create. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, be sure to check out my tutorial group or my Drunk Flamingo group. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.